Thank you very much. Good morning and welcome to the press conference of the film Pororoca, a film that is in the official section of the 65th International Film Festival in San Sebastian. And to talk about the film, we have the pleasure of having with us the actors, Bogdan Dumitrache and Julia Lumarare, who repeats in San Sebastian after she came last year with a film of new directors. And we've got the director, Constantin Popescu, who once again we want to welcome back to San Sebastian because I think it was 10 years ago. No, sorry, in 2010 I think it was, yes, 2010, 7 years ago, when he also competed with new directors with his film, Príncipe de Villata. Okay, as always, perhaps I would invite Constantin to give us an initial idea of why you were interested in this film and why did you get involved in the project?
It's very difficult to say why. It was something that interested me. The construction of a relationship following such a sad event. An event that we usually do not want to know about, do not want to watch, hear about. And I just ask myself, what would it be like to try and deconstruct it? I think this is the word, such an event.
Good. Okay, we've got a first question, it seems. Hi, good morning. Thank you for the film. I would like to know how the entire sequence of the disappearance of the girl, how that was all planned. Was that rehearsed and so on and so forth? And then precisely, what draws my attention, the difference between that beginning of the film and the harsh part at the end, because the beginning is very relaxed, a lot of tension nevertheless, but vis-a-vis the power and the bestial, almost beast-like power of the last scenes. Can I speak in Spanish or do I have to say it in English? We've got translation. Well, it lasted, the shooting of the sequence, it was almost a week, or not, 8 days we've spent in the park, and 2 weeks beforehand I went with Liviu, who's the DOP, Director of Photography, and with one of the producers of the film we went to try and do it step by step, everything, the whole scene. And from a logistics standpoint, it was a nightmare, that sequence, because you can't shoot, you can only shoot for 4 hours with children every day, that is to say, and in the park we couldn't close it off completely. It's prohibited. We had to let people to go by in some place or another in the park, but at the same time, to make sure that the people that went by didn't look at the camera and didn't stop to see what we were doing there in the park. There were 127 of us, kids, parents, extras, the crew behind the camera, so it was quite a complicated setup. The difficult thing was, the most difficult was for the actors, because they had to make sure that the people that weren't in the film that were walking by and what the kids were doing, where the camera was, where the microphones was, because there was 5 crew members just for sound, and I think 29 people had microphones and other microphones were hidden, so it was quite difficult. It was the most difficult thing I've ever shot in a film. Thank you. We've got a question here. Hi, congratulations for the film. And to the actors, also congratulations. I would like to know where you inspired where. I want to insist upon the previous question that say to the where was the inspiration to Bogdan and Yulia? I would like to ask you how you've lived. How was the shoot and the transformation of the relationship between both characters from the beginning to the end of the film? Thank you very much. The inspiration, shall we say, is a combination of things. It's a personal thing that happened to me. And some cases that were more or less, or came close to what I've tried to show you and write in the script, on the screenplay and direct. It's very difficult to explain it all. Shall we say that I was very interested, and I am still interested in those moments that generally directors that we directors don't like to direct because they're very hard and very harsh. Let us say what happens in those moments that we don't want to shoot. Those things, it's not when the characters talk and they've got to say things so that the audience can understand. No, what happens in those moments when the character is asleep, when the character is on his own or her own. Those things that we don't generally want to see because perhaps we're used to, and perhaps those things have happened to us, or perhaps I'm not too sure. We don't want to look at it because it's a bit of a hassle. It's a bit, and that's what I was interested in shooting in the film. And the actors, Yulia, Bogdan.
So I'll answer in English. It was a very special project for me, as Constantin didn't want to rehearse. We had very few meetings, like 2 or maybe 3, but that was it. And that was just because Bogdan and myself were like desperate, but I want to rehearse, please, let us rehearse. And he said, okay, let's meet. He didn't make a casting. He kind of wrote it with Bogdan in his head, and afterwards he thought about me and took me in the project. So I think he trusted our instincts and the resemblance between our personalities and the characters he wrote. So I believe this is the reason he didn't want to rehearse. And for the 3 meetings, it was a bit awkward because the tension and all the things we had to do, it was kind of impossible to do it in rehearsals. I mean, we are on 2 chairs and trying to, get close to that feeling, and it was okay, so we cannot do it in rehearsals. And we were both nervous when the shooting began because we didn't rehearse. But then again, we both trusted Constantin that he knew what he was doing with us. And I think the most important thing, the thing I needed to do during the shoot, was trying to, between the shots, between the scenes, was trying to connect with Bogdan, but without talking about the characters, without talking about the scenes, without talking, the research part, but by trying to, because we are friends, we know each other from a long time ago, and I tried to, I made this exercise not only when we were shooting or rehearsing before the shooting, but actually all the time, every minute. I was trying to, it's like, what if he really was my husband? And this is the way I kind of worked for the character. And for the hard scenes, I don't know. I cannot answer because it is the less technical role I've ever done. So I cannot really talk about how I did it. It's trying to connect my rational part with the emotional one and let them go. Something like that, I think.
for me it was great. I mean, it's a very rare opportunity for an actor to meet such a script, such a character with such an evolution from a normal life to abyss, to such a wide emotional range, with a physical transformation, with so much time on screen, which allowed me to develop sophisticated and subtle structures. It was really great.
Another question there. Congratulations for the film. Congratulations, Mr. Dumitrache. He's gone into English now.
From despair, father's despair to madness, to folly, to the abyss, as you said, was a wonderful piece of cinema and a wonderful professional scene. For Mr. Popescu, habla castellano.
You speak Spanish, so therefore I'll go into Spanish. This brought to a memory an old Italian film where there's an actor, a very famous actor, Berto Sordi is his name, and more or less the same thing, a film that was almost 2 hours and 270 minutes where the son dies at a bank when they're trying to rob a bank, and the father, slowly but surely, ends up killing the guy that he suspects. There's no case against this person. I don't know whether you know about that film. No, I don't know anything about that film, no. Okay. I've seen several films vis-a-vis this issue. Throughout my life, I have seen films that deal with this subject matter or something similar to this subject matter. But I've tried to approach the subject in a different way. I tried in the best way possible to try to imagine what happens to a character like that during the course of the film. So therefore, it's a film that talks about the silent power of guilt. I think that's what it is. I think that it's very difficult to know how to commit oneself to try and deal with your life normally after such an event like this. I have a question here in the front row, it seems.
Hello, my name is Paul Katzenberger from Germany. And I have two questions to the film. The first question is, what is the dimension of time for you? My feeling was that this is a long film and you show many things at great length. In the beginning, innocence, when, for instance, we have this long discussion with the ladies and the guy with the dog. And then in the end, it seemed to me like that time becomes an enemy for Tudor. And the second question is, I was wondering why Tudor never mentioned to the police that the man he saw in the park actually was behaving suspiciously with kids.
Actually, he does mention it. He probably, it was lost in translation, it happens sometimes. But the third time that Tudor goes to the police, he mentioned that the guy was playing with kids, and the policeman asks, "What do you mean?" Yeah, it was probably lost in translation, but he does mention that. Yeah, absolutely. We were very, very careful with those police, with every time that Tudor goes, the character goes to the police. I was actually talking to police commissioners and so on that explained to me how a character like that usually behaves. What questions does a character like that may ask? Regarding time, yes, it is a factor. The movie begins a little bit objectively with wide-angle lenses, and gradually, yes, the time is more fractured. Because, for instance, I think we see in the film, no, I know for sure, because I did it. So we see the first 4 days just slowly developing, but then we begin to jump 2 or 3 days there, 2 or 3 days there, until we got to the 54th day at the end. So yes, it was a question of time. Usually I understood that people in situations like that tend to have a completely different perception of time. And we try to do that, yes.
Hi, my name's Felix Damian. I'm a correspondent for Romanian national television here in Spain. This is my first time in San Sebastian. I want to congratulate you for the film, and I would like to ask you, what does it mean for you, for your career, this presence in the official section in San Sebastian, and what do you expect after participating in this official competition? Could you please answer in Romanian, if possible? Yes, I hope whatever director wants to make, director expects to make more films. It's an honor to be here in San Sebastian. It's one of the festivals that I like very much. Not first of all because you speak in Spanish and I can understand. I can understand myself better with the press, better than other film festivals. And there are many reasons for which I love the city, I love the people. I think that the audiences and the public here in San Sebastian is very special. It's very... They understand artists much better. I don't know how to explain this. And now he is speaking in Romanian, of which there's no translation, by the way.
Nu, cred că la orice vârstă și pentru orice regizor ar trebui să fie, sau ar fi frumos să fie un ajutor pentru un drum ulterior. Mulțumesc.
I would like to know whether that at the end, opening up the other man's head, whether you decided to not to show it so explicitly. At the end of the day, the rest of the, because more or less the film was very subtle, but that moment which is so powerful, I'm not too sure that, well, look, the image changes from the first image until the last image in the film. The color changes almost at 66%. Sound changes. There are things that I kept hidden in several moments of the film, answers for the spectators. If you're curious in seeing the film again, try to look. There are sounds that I hid also within the film. And I think, no, in the end, I think the ending had to be completely different to the beginning of the film. It had to be very violent, something which I think that the audience doesn't expect to see at all, because it seems to me that that's the only way that honestly, the change in the character from the beginning to the end of the film is much more visible. I don't know how to explain this. I think that the audience understands it much better this way. I thought it was an honest way of telling the story, of not giving
enough chances a un personaje así.
To a character like this, because what he does, the truth is, in society, this is something that's not done. Let's say, let's tell the truth here, but I thought it was very interesting that he doesn't care. It doesn't bother him. It's interesting that he has all his answers. I think these are people that are always looking for an answer all life long, and there are people that can't live without an answer, and I think that Tudor is one of the last of these people who he's already got the answer. He knows what the answer is, albeit it doesn't exist any more than just a circumstantial proof. Proof of circumstance. Yes, microphone, please. We can't hear him. No, those hidden sounds that you mentioned, what are they? Are they clues to see how their main character is going to react? No, many people, the people that have seen the film and have looked at the script have asked me, is he guilty or not? That's my way of giving an answer. There's another question there. Yes. Could you talk a bit more about the length of the film, whether you had planned to make that 2.5 hours long, or as you were shooting the film and editing, you saw the need that those 54 days needed 2.5 hours to explain the evolution of the character better. When I finished the script, it was almost a novel. I had 350 pages long. So therefore, the film had to be longer, but I decided for an international version to get it closer to a normal feature film length, albeit I know that 2.5 hours is a long time. But the first version of the film was even longer, yes. There are quite a lot of things that are missing in the film. Yes, could you talk to us about using the city, that a man who's sunbathing in the park, it turns out being suspicious, does that happen? Could you talk about the use of the urban areas and spaces which are controlled, and there are unwritten laws there? Yes, if I've understood your question correctly, I think that after being my idea written by me and written in a script and directed by me, I have tried to show the image of what the character feels or is going through. Quite often, sometimes what we see is not what we see, or if we don't see something, it doesn't mean that that thing doesn't exist. I don't know how to explain this. When I was writing the script, for example, I was talking with Bogdan. We saw each other once a month. We talked quite often, and as he's the father he's got 2 children, and he brought photos along with him, and he showed me photos of suspicious individuals who were in these parks next to the place where the kids and children were playing. And it wasn't something that we talked a lot about, but he did show me a photo of meeting us. He said, what do you think about this guy? And what do you think about that guy? So therefore, the truth is, if you want to see something like that, if you want someone to look like a suspect, I think it's quite easy. It all depends on, I don't know, on the point of view or the moment in life that you're living, that you're in at a given moment. Okay, any further questions? Yes, at the front row. I would like to know, the film is focused completely 100% on the character of the father. I would like to know why. We see that there are certain powerful moments with the mother as well, and it's him all the time. And Bogdan, when you destroy the house at the end, how did you feel doing that? Because supposedly We say breaking things frees you and releases you, but the character is in the situation he's in. How did you go about trying to portray that scene? There are two answers to your first question. It's focused upon the male character because that's how I imagine the story. I had to choose one of the parents. That's how I see it. That's not an answer, but that's the truth. And another is that I don't know how to write female characters too well. I must recognize this. I'm not too good. I try. In my next script, I'll try better. But in this one, that's the reason. It didn't work out too well. It's more Julia. She really transformed this character in her performance more than what I wrote in the script. Oh, Bogdan, yes.
Well, there is no logic explanation for the last scene. Before her, this character is completely mad. There is no logical release of pain by breaking the house. For this guy, there is no more logic. There is only the abyss. And he will live it forever. I mean,
how did you feel as an actor portraying that?
I don't know. I don't know.
It was hard for Bogdan. It was very hard. I know he doesn't want to say it, but it was very difficult. We discussed it a lot. He visited the place where we were shooting while we were preparing for the shoot. It was very difficult. It was a scene that we discussed many days, months. It was very complicated to explain it fully, because actually the guy makes some mistakes, some things that you usually do not want to do in a situation like that. Perhaps before killing the guy, you would want to ask the guy if he knows something about the girl, because that's the ultimate goal, to find the girl. But I mean, we discussed this a lot. It was very difficult, and actually the shot that's in the film, it's the only one that we felt was exactly what we needed. The other ones, we couldn't, I cannot grasp what didn't function, but it wasn't there. This one, it was something very strange, and it was all Bogdan. It was not a thing of direction, after all.
There's a question here. No further questions? Well, I have a curiosity, and I'm curious, and in order to finish, the title of the film, I thought Pororoca was a Romanian word. It's not. It's a Guarani word. Would you explain why the film is called Pororoca? I like the idea of the similarity of what the character does and what Pororoca means. Pororoca is that big rumble, that big wave. It's a wave that is formed once a year, from what I understand, that enters into the continent in the Amazon River. In the Tupi language, I think it means, porok means a very powerful or big noise, and destruction. And oca means house. So, as the character at the end does what he wouldn't do, or what many people wouldn't do, for social reasons and things of that kind. I like the similarity between this word and the film. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we want to wish you the best of luck with the film, and thank you very much for having come along today. Thank you.